So, kind of looking back at 2022, what were some of the key market trends you saw that were exceptionally important?
When I look back in the year, kind of one of the things I take from it is that, all good things come to an end. At the beginning of the year, we were off the back of this really frothy valuation world. Everybody was going public. There were SPACs left and right. But then actually, when you saw the correction, it was a little bit more like, okay, well, was that stuff really good in the first place? Because you had IPO companies that were struggling. You had companies that were trying to grow into this gaudy valuation that they couldn't do it. So like maybe some of this stuff that we thought was good was actually bad. So now you're left in a place of saying, okay, well, maybe we're too frothy. Now we've gone a little bit the other direction. And hopefully in 2023, we kind of get to a little bit more even keel.
Should we be concerned, though? Is the US slowing?
It depends a little bit on the definition. Like if you look at the pile of capital that's available, that's still there. And actually, I think in our recent Venture Pulse report we highlighted in the US, I think we're on track for the highest fundraising year in history. So the money is there. Now, where it is slowing down is in terms of number of deals and dollars and average deal size, et cetera, just reflecting the valuations from the prior year. But there's still going to be a ton of investing done. I think just the pace of that is going to be a little bit slower. Due diligence is taking a little bit longer. The valuations are lower. So I'd expect the dollars and the deal sizes to come down. But net, I think it's still going to be a lot of investing in Q4 and 2023.
So, how does that compare to globally where we stand at the moment when it comes to VC investment?
It's a little bit different in each region. The taking more time to due diligence, et cetera, that's universal, that's global. But I think when you get outside of the US, you get to Europe, there's just the proximity to the Ukraine issue that's more so than in the US. You've got various political issues throughout Europe. I think that makes it a little bit tougher there. And then when in Asia, actually, we're on track for, I think, the lowest fundraising in Asia in 8 years. So there's definitely differences in those markets. And of course, the US is the most tenured VC ecosystem out there, so it's going to be a little bit more robust than the other two. But the pace of deals, the due diligence, et cetera, I expect that to be consistent.
And so, where do you see investors heading or putting their money in the next 12 to 18 months?
So I think some of it's going to be a continuation of what we're seeing in 2022. So cyber's hot, anything to do with energy because the energy prices are going up, alternative energy, clean tech. ESG, of course, is a buzzword for everybody. There's probably going to be investment there. Another interesting place I don't think that gets talked about as much is, B2B offerings around the whole hybrid work thing. Like I think historically we were very, very good with the 100% on site, and then we got really good very quickly with 100% remote. But I think we're all a little bit kind of figuring out this hybrid thing when it comes to performance measurement and training and things like that. So I think solutions in that space will do well.
It's been really hard for a lot of people the last 2 years. What advice do you have for founders to navigate the current environment they find themselves in?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think every good investor will probably say they'll index a lot on the founder. That's really what's forming their investment decision. But I think that's even more the case now. And I think every founder's got to be really nailed into their pitch, really drill down into their model, kind of stress test it 7 ways to Sunday. The days of, hey, just show me triple digit revenue growth and we're good. I think those days are gone. There needs to be profitability at some point in time. So those are the things I think that the founder should be focused on.
When I think of KPMG, startups isn't my first thought. So what advantages do startups get from working with a company like KPMG?
Well, I'm glad you asked the question because you're right. We work with all the biggest companies around the world. But what sometimes gets missed is that some of those companies 20 years ago were startups. So when I lead the emerging giants practice within our private enterprise group, my role is to go identify those companies, grow them through their life cycle to the point of being large clients, being iconic brands. And the advantage to a startup at this stage is you've got one point of contact in your country that's helping you out, providing very kind of hands-on service, but you've got a network of global member firms behind that touches probably every country that you would want to do business in. So for example, some of the finalists in the GTI event the other night, as a result of the competition, have already sourced meetings in multiple different countries around the world. So you've kind of got that balance of that local and global, which I think works really well for these startups.
Well, speaking of emerging giants, we're here in Lisbon for the KPMG Private Enterprise Global Tech Innovator Competition. Now, it was 22 countries competing here. Was there anything in this competition that stood out from a technology or a country perspective?
Probably I left Wednesday night with two thoughts or surprises. One was just the quality of the pitching, and I think it took it up to a new level this year. I mean, I thought all 22 just did a fabulous job. And probably the other surprise was kind of just the diversity of industries. I mean, we had ag tech up there, we had fintech. The winner was clean tech. We had some health tech stuff as well. So it was just that breadth of sectors that was a surprise to me, but very impressive.
So speaking of the winner, it was HiRock for hydrogen. What was it about this company in particular that stood out that got them over the line to get that crown?
Well, and you're right. It was very close to whoever was going to get over the line, and I think it was probably a combination of a few things. I mean, I said everybody pitched well. They were particularly good in their pitch. I think you also had a seasoned management team who'd kind of done stuff before, and probably the other edge is they just maybe felt a little bit further along their sort of commercialization execution route than others. But it was extremely close.
So what are you looking forward to for next year's competition?
Oh, next year's competition, I want to have 30 countries there. I want to have more sectors represented. I just want it to be bigger and better. Just the pace that we've had over the last 2 years has been fabulous. It's really exciting.